Perfect fit closets, how to use stackable modules. In today's lesson, we'll talk about our stackable module that are stretchable and a regular stackable module. Please note, stackable module properties are exactly the same as tall modules. I've got my 2020 design open. I'm going to go to my local browsers, choose my catalog. I've got the Perfect Fit Canadian catalog. I'm going to double click our modules. And in our modules, we've got our stackable wall, tall corner, and left outside and right outside corner, as well as islands and dummy helpers. We'll be talking about our first module, stackable module, stretchable, and a regular stackable module. So let's create a wall. I'm going to click our room layout tab, click on the continuous wall. We'll go clockwise, and let's just choose a 100-inch wall. I'll hit the enter on the keyboard and escape on my keyboard to get out of it. I've got a 100-inch wall. I've got my placement zone. I'm going to double click in my placement zone to create my elevation view. So I've got my elevation view here. Let's grab a stackable module and let's take a look at the properties. I'm going to left click the stackable module regular one. I'm going to drag it into my elevation. As soon as I see my magnet, I'm going to go to my farthest working left, right about here, and let go of my mouse. A new dialog box appears. I'm going to right click on the illustration so I can see the textured lines and see it a bit better. We can see a stackable module. It's got line boring holes, a bottom shelf, toe kick, as well as top shelf. For our properties, we have line boring holes. We have 37 millimeters from the front edge band to the first center boring hole. We've got 32 millimeters from the center of each boring hole. And then we also have 10 millimeters from the edge to the first line boring hole, and we also got 10 millimeters from the bottom to the first line boring hole. We have 37 millimeters that's currently offset, and then the back holes will always fluctuate depending on the depth of the actual module itself. The default height for our stackable module is 34 and 13/16. As noted in the beginning of this video, we indicated that the tall module and the stackable module have the exact same properties. The only difference is that this is a reminder for our designers that you can use stackable modules and you can stack one another on top of each other. We also want to note that in case you wanted to do an island by itself and have openings on the same side as opposed to the front and back, we also can use these stackable modules. So it's very versatile that we can use it, and it's more so as a reminder that you can use different modules for different purposes. So again, default is 34 and 13/16, and just like the tall module, we have a maximum of 107 and 7/8. As you can see here, 107 7/8. If I click on the up button, it doesn't allow me to. We can go as small as 12 and 8. And we can see we can't go any further. Oh, we can go further. So the furthest that we can go is 5 and 13/16. However, I don't think anybody would use something like this. So let's go ahead and use our standard 34 high. 34 and 13/16 is the next line boring hole. And it's just a simple basic module. We can have a back, and there's an applied back in our attributes. The applied back is behind the vertical and behind the shelves. We can deselect it for no back. We also have one opening. We can have two openings. We can have three openings. We can have one module with several different types of openings here. We'll keep it at one opening for now. Opening depth. We have presets of 12, 14, 16, 19, 24. We can go as deep as 30 inches and as shallow as 8 inches. We can certainly do so by hitting the custom button and going to a 1/16 of an inch. We'll keep it at default 14. Opening one width. We've got presets of 12, 15, 18, 24, 30, and 36, or we can go custom. We can go as narrow as 8 inches and as wide as 48 inches to a 1/16 of an inch. We'll keep it standard at 24. Next is panel on left fully drilled and panel on the right fully drilled. What that means is it's got line boring holes on the inside of the panels, but as well as the outside of the panels. If I choose my panel on the left, I have different items such as half drilled, not drilled, and panel removed. If we have it half drilled, I've got line boring holes on the inside but I also have a clean face on the outside. These are great for end panels or for panels that are protruding that's got a shorter module beside it. We want to have clean faces as much as we can. We could also have it not drilled. When we have a panel that's not drilled, we've got a clean face on both the left outside as well as the left inside. There is no bored holes whatsoever. In the event that the designer does want to choose this option, there are no bored holes. So we'll have to use a stencil to kind of create the 4 holes needed for the bottom to attach itself, as well as 10 millimeters from the very top. This gets a little more labor intensive, but it does do a cleaner finish depending on the application. We'll keep this all fully drilled for now. Bottom shelf, I can subtract the bottom shelf, add the bottom shelf, or I can do a bottom shelf with a rod. Again, we don't want to do that. We just want to have a regular bottom shelf, regular top shelf as well, no top shelf, or with a top shelf, we do want it. And toe kicks, last but not least. We can have a toe kick or no toe kick. With the toe kicks, we can go default up 3 3/4. We can go as high as 5 inches, or the tallest is 6 1/4 for our toe kicks. We'll keep it standard at 3 3/4. Again, depending on the application, maybe they want to use a false bottom, or they've got a large baseboard that they don't want touched. So again, depends on what it's going to be. We're going to click on OK and drop it in. This floats automatically, and we can simply use the up and down. We can right click, left click up and down, and we can manually move this going up and down. Well, let's try that again. Up and down. We can manually move this up and down. Or we can, better yet, use the placement area and indicate to the program that we want this 0 inches from the bottom. I've hit 0 in my placement area. We're going to hit enter, and it goes all the way down to 0 inches. I personally love using the placement area, either left, right, up, or down. That way it's going to be a bit more accurate. So this is my basic tall module that's 14 inches deep. So what can we do with these stackable modules? Well, here's one thing that you can do in case you had a very tall closet. So let's right click on our wall itself, left click our properties, and I'm going to say that I want this to be, let's say, 120 inches high. We're going to click on apply and OK. And now we have a 120-inch high ceiling. So when does stackable modules apply? So let's grab a regular tall module. We're going to left click and drag it in. I'm going to drop in my module as soon as I see my magnet. A window appears in our dialog box. I'm going to right click on the illustration, and we'll keep this as 24 inches wide. We're going to select OK. We're going to keep the same properties at 14 inches, and we're just going to drop this like so. Let's say we want this 2 inches from the right wall. So now what I can do is I now can use my line-to-line annotations, and I've got 36 1/16 inch space here. So in the event that the client wants to go even higher, there's 2 options that I can do. So this is the first option. I can keep it at 83 15/16 as my first option. All right, so I've got my first module. And what I can do is I can actually take this module. We're going to go into attributes. I'm going to delete the bottom shelf and the toe kick. It's not going to be needed. I'm going to go into my variables and scroll all the way down until I see my shelf bottom. I'm going to subtract the shelf bottom, and I'm going to subtract the toe kick. So it's an upside down U. We're going to click on OK. And here's my stackable module. I can click up and down and drag. I'm going to drag this 2 inches from the wall to the right using my placement area again. I'm going to subtract, and I want 2 inches from the right wall. It's going to be the exact same 2 inches off the current tall module in place. Once I've hit enter, it's taken into effect. Now I can click the actual stackable module. We'll click up and down, and I'm going to attach it to the existing module. To finish this stackable module, I can click our categories, double click our parts, double click our shelves, grab a shelf fix, and now I've created a box. I'm going to go up and down so everyone can see this. So we can see that I've got a stackable module. I've subtracted the bottom shelf and the toe kick. and I've manually added a regular fixed shelf to create an actual box. I'm going to right click, go up and down, and now I've got a stackable module like so. Very, very easy. So that's kind of where I would use a stackable module. If you wanted to even this out, we can do the exact same thing with different measures. So here's another example. We're going to grab our modules. We're going to grab a tall module. And we're going to, my farthest left, drop it in, right click on the illustration so I can see it a bit better. So instead of 83 and 15/16, let's say that I want this to be 76 and 3/8 as an example. We'll make this one 24 inches wide. I do want a bottom shelf, top shelf, and a toe kick. We're going to go ahead and drop this. And we're going to say that we want this dropped 38 inches from the right wall. Okay, so now I've got two tall modules. One's at 78. Oh, sorry, my apologies, 76. Just move that over there. And we're going to drag this over again just to double check. 38 inches from the wall to the right. And now I can grab a stackable module. So let's take a look for my line-to-line annotations. I have 43 inches. So let's grab a stackable module. I'm going to grab a stackable module, drag it into my elevation view. Once I see my magnet, go to my furthest working left. So I know that I've got a 43-inch variance here. So I'm going to make this as close as I can, maybe 40 inches, 39, give it some variance. We're going to make this one opening. We're going to make this in 24 inches wide. No bottom shelf this time, and no toe kick. We're going to click on OK. We're going to drag this over 38 inches to the right, the exact same 38 inches to the right with the tall module and the stackable module. Now I can just click on up and down. And now I can go to my categories, double click parts, double click shelves, grab a shelf fixed, and create my box. So what the installer could do as one option to attach this is, in case they are working by themselves, they can create the tall module on their own at the bottom. And then for the top module, they can create this box on the floor and then get onto a ladder and join them together. There's several different ways that you can combine it by gluing using a PL500 or any adhesives to attach these two modules together. You can screw them from top to bottom. You could dowel them, however your installer would like to do it. So here's kind of two different ways where I use a smaller module and a larger module and attach a stackable module. Again, we can create different sizes and different heights. All right, another area that you can use a stackable module is islands. So let's create an actual room here. I'm going to go ahead and create my continuous wall. And let's say I want this 100 inches this way, 100 inches, 100 inches, and let's say that I want this to be 90 inches. Oop, let's actually make this a little bit smaller. Let's say that we want this 70 inches. We have 30-inch wide opening. So there is my actual walk-in closet. But let's say that I wanted an island in there. I'm going to click on the Room Layout tab and click on my double-sided continuous construction line. It's perforated. I'm going to left-click double-sided, and that's currently selected. Now I'm going to left-click my continuous button. And now I'm going to go ahead and go off screen and create a line. Let's say I want this to be 60 inches wide. I'm going to right-click my mouse to save my changes and exit. So right-clicking on my mouse, and now I've got two 60-inch walls. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab and left-click and hold my mouse and drag this over, and I'm going to center this as best as I can. To center this, I can take my annotations button, go to line, left-click once to my wall, and left-click again. Annotations, left click my line to line. I've got a plus button. We're going to go 1 and 2. And now I'm pretty darn even. One's 50 and one's 49. So we can just move it manually ever so slightly down. And now I'm exactly 50 inches each. So now that I'm centered, There are two different ways that you can kind of create a stackable module or an island. They're kind of similar and one and the same. I'll show you both options. The first option is a regular island module. I can use the top view. Once I see my magnet, I'm going to let go of my mouse. So here's a basic island. I'm going to right click the illustration. We're going to make this one 14 inches deep, 14 inches in the front, and let's make this one 24 inches wide. So let's create a very small island. It's got a front and back, and we're going to drop it in. So it's got a front and back, and it's got an actual partition in the middle, which is fantastic. Now let's use a stackable module. So we're going to go to my categories, modules, and we're going to grab a stackable module. We're going to drag it in. Once I see my magnet, I'm going to let go of my mouse. Now that I've got my stackable module, I'm going to right click it. We're going to make this one 14 inches deep. And let's just say that we want this 24 inches wide. But this time I'm going to create a back toward it. If I can create a back to it, I'm going to take the panel on the left half drilled, panel on the right half drilled. So now I've got kind of a basic stackable module. We're going to click on OK. It's fully enclosed. And we're going to drop it in. So we can see the two differences between an island module and a stackable module. If your client really does want an island in the middle of the room, you can certainly have two different options. You can have islands and you can make multiple modules, or stackable modules and make multiple stackable modules, depending on the size and the budget for the client itself. We can go into our categories, parts, and then we can go scroll down and find our tops, and we can certainly add a top for island module, or we can add a top for our stackable module, change the properties. But let's take a look at our perspective view. And this is the other way that I would use a stackable module here. So we have the exact same system, the exact same height, except one way's got a front and back, and then the other section is just the front itself. And there's my two modules. All I gotta do is just change the properties on my actual tops. And let's say that I want a 1 inch overhang on each section. We're gonna go to my variables. All this gets explained in the actual top section of our training video software. Click on apply. And we can see just from my stackable module, I've got a 1 inch overhang on all four sides. Then I can do the same thing on the top for the island module. You can see right here, I've got an opening in the front and back, and there's going to be more information in the software training section underneath island modules. So again, stackable modules are very versatile. You can use it for stacking a module on top of another module. For this section here, I would probably finish this off with our parts, and in our parts, I'd probably add some cleats so that we can adhere it to the back wall. So again, dependent on the application. If you don't want to use a stackable module and you want to have a one piece, then what I would do is I would double click my categories, my modules, click on my tall module, drag it into my elevation. As soon as I see my magnet, go to my furthest left, and then I can increase this to the maximum height of 107 7/8. So this is going to be fantastic for those areas where you want a single piece. It only works, again, maximum of 107 7/8. We'll go to width 24. We'll click on OK, and now you can see the different options. So I always try to advise to use the one piece as much as you can, but if you have to go higher than 107 7/8, then the next two options are certainly available. And I'll make them concise. I'm going to go click my parts, go to my cleats, and just add my cleats here so you can see kind of the differences between the different types of modules. The two modules that we worked on earlier, on the middle and the far right one, we've added different heights for our tall modules and added stackable modules on top. The one on the left is just a regular tall module. A stackable module will work to a maximum of 107 7/8. There you go. If you have any questions regarding stackable modules or any other questions, please connect with us at support@perfectfitcanada.com, and the next available team member can certainly help you. Thank you.